You're laughing. That's a good
Yes, I am.
start.
I know, right?
Welcome everybody to Here to
Greetings
Help
upon
You.
greetings.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
It's been a minute.
Yeah, guy. Dave took off for a minute. Dave like
I'm still here. Even though you don't see me, I am still here.
so guys, today.
You want to go ahead and let them know?
Well, you know what? I think this is important that we do this show for a few reasons. See, for me, I've never, until I was in the community, and this is something I've learned as working in the community, is for you to know the problems of the community, you got to be in it. You got to live there, you got to breathe, you got to eat, sleep, shit, everything there.
You have to submerge yourself.
You've got to
into it.
submerge yourself into the community, and it's only then when you really start to see what's happening.
Yeah.
And that's what this show is about. So we're going to be talking about renting and being a renter and what that looks like from each side, and why it's important that all of us know the rules and regulations of that type of agreement. Because if you don't know the rules and regulations of that type of agreement, someone is going to end up not in a good place.
Yeah, and that's why, we have to big up all tenants associations.
Yeah, tenants associations, big up
on
yourself,
yourselves.
because you guys know and can help. But today we're doing the show for those who do not know any better and who might be afraid to stand up for themselves. This is very important. There's a lot of information today, so we're going to go through it, and I'll tell you this. Don't worry, you'll be able to get everything again because we're going to rerun the show after, and then you can find a lot of this stuff on our Here to Help page. So all the information will be listed, and if you have any questions at all, feel free to contact us. You can contact me at Simone@carib101.com or Dave at carib101.com. We don't have all the answers, but we got most of them. Okay, so the first thing I noticed when we're trying to find about information as a tenant is that they make it hella hard. Like, I went on and I'm like, oh, I can see why people would just like bump this, forget it. Like, we can't be bothered. We'll just figure out, we'll either move or just live in the situation that we're living in. But today we want to stop that. So what I did is I went through it. And I pulled out what was important for you guys to know. And of course, I'm going to offer links and stuff for us at the end so that you guys know what to do and where to look, okay? So first thing we're going to handle is, let's handle about being a tenant. So for most tenancy agreements, when you walk in, anything that was actually entered after April 30th, the landlord must use the residential tenancy agreement. That's here in Ontario, which is a standard form of lease. And if the landlord does not provide the tenant with the standard lease form, the tenant can demand that the landlord do so. So for you, ask. When they give you an agreement, don't just take it. One of the first things you do, ask them, is this up to date? That's going to throw them right off because they're going to be like, what the hell? How do you even know? You may not know shit, but just ask.
You know, because at the end of the day, you know, I mean, number one, a lot of us are looking at, of course, you know, affordability. A lot of us are put in positions where, you know what, I need a place right now because of whatever situation
they're in.
Exactly, right?
But
so
know your rights. Look, if honestly, and sometimes these people will treat you ways because they don't think you know the system. So speak to them right away. Is your residential agreement up to date?
You know,
number one thing.
I tell my students, know the rules, play the game.
Absolutely. So we're going to start with the number one thing that's going to supersede everything that we talk about today. I'm going to go straight to the Human Rights Code, and I'm going to explain to you what a landlord is. So a landlord is a person, and this isn't like they said especially a man, but it can be a woman, who rents land, a building, or an apartment to a tenant. So a person who owns or runs a boarding house in or a similar establishment is also considered a landlord. Property owners, you are landlords. Regardless if you're there or not, you are a landlord. So the code states that it is a public policy in Ontario to recognize the inherent dignity and worth of every person and to provide equal rights and opportunities without discrimination. The code has, don't want to go too far. The code has primacy over all other legislation in Ontario. This is important for you to know. Unless the other legislation specifically states that it applies despite the code, this means that if another piece of legislation contains a provision that conflicts with or contravenes with the code will prevail. In long story short, if you know your human rights and you feel like your human rights are being challenged or being dismissed, your rights will always supersede any contract, any law given by the landlord. Even in the Landlord and Tenants Board, it supersedes all of that. So that's one thing we need to understand. So the primacy is recognized specifically in the context of rental housing, the Residential Tenancy Act, which is what they will talk about and we will bring up later, which contains a provision that states that the act will override any other act. So I want you guys to understand your human rights, foremost, is most important, okay?
Yes.
So this protection extends to access to rental opportunities, renting, being evicted, building rules and regulations, repairs, maintenance, harassments, the use of services and facilities, and so on and so on. So to date, housing discrimination has not been researched to the same extent as discrimination in employment. For example, let's see, what do they talk about here? Let me bring up something. There's so much information, I don't want to like overflood everybody, but let's skip that actually. We'll keep going. So the low social and economic status is a common factor in many types of housing discrimination. People identified by the code grounds are disproportionately likely to have low incomes. The shelter allowance rates for people and families who receive social assistance are far below market levels. So it puts our community, at a disadvantage.
You know, and it's so interesting that these things are still taking place. You know, Star had an article May 3rd in the Star, renting while black, right? A lady, Latoya Williams, she went ahead and actually faced discrimination
Because she was
because
black.
she was black.
You know what was interesting, and there's so much to say about this, but we are actually starting we were starting our looking for a place, and which is one of the reasons why we decided to do this today, because we are dealing with an issue with a residential property, which we will not say right now because we are looking to take some action with them, but do believe that we are going to take action because it's time that we did speak for those who cannot speak.
True.
But it was interesting. I remember when we were talking about looking for a place, I actually said, you can't go because I know that if you go, they won't rent it to you.
Right.
Isn't that messed up?
Mm-hmm.
As a black man, I can't send you to go and look for an apartment for us because I know they'll take one look at you and be like, nope. Why am I still even thinking that in this day and age? No, but this is real.
But it's true talk, though. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, right? We here in this generation, we're still facing the same issues and challenges that our foreparents have faced, right? If not even worse, or more blatant,
Absolutely.
right? So,
Absolutely. So there's some things we need to look at, and we're going to go through these quickly. There's so much information. There is so much. But I'm going to talk about, I think this is a picture that we have. I have a slide on systemic discrimination. So discrimination in rental housing may often take on, I think it's number 4, slide 4. It may often take on systemic or institutional forms. Systemic or institutional discrimination consists of patterns or behaviors, policies or practices that are part of the social or administrative structure of an organization and that create or perpetuate a position of relative disadvantage. So these are the things that a lot of landlords may not understand. Again, the Human Rights Code supersedes anything you do. And in our situation, and in our rental property, I believe there is some systemic discrimination happening there. It's very subtle, which it always is. But just the fact that they are not taking action, and the fact that I would say about 90% of our apartment is black,
I would agree.
I'm going to say about 90% of
agree.
the tenants in our apartment are black, and we are dealing with some serious issues in that building, which is why we had to do this today.
Yeah, man.
So when we come back, we're going to go over, actually, what are we going to talk about when we get back? There's so much. Again, Dave's going to put up most of the information for you. We're going to start to understand the Residential and Tenancy Act that was actually proposed in 2006 to have a better idea of what you as a landlord have the rights to and what our tenants have the rights to here on Here to Help You.
At Benjamin Law, we understand the real cost of personal injuries. As the victim of an accident, you may be the one who's physically hurt, but your main concern is that your family are the ones who will pay the price. Benjamin Law will be there for you, helping, supporting, and working tirelessly to resolve your personal injury case. Call 1-855-899-4878 or visit benjaminlaw.ca and let our family of lawyers help your family.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. May your dreams all come true. Happy birthday to you.
We refuse to promote, report on anything negative in the community.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to Here to
Greetings
Help
upon
You.
greetings.
So, Dave, you were saying that I have a lot of fire. You know why I have fire.
Yeah, you know, I mean, our home, anybody's home, and everybody's home should be a place of like refuge, you know, peacefulness, right? But then now, of course, when violations take place,
Like Mickey and Minnie are in your home?
right? And of course, the natural upkeep of a home, right?
Of a building, of a space?
Right.
When that goes, I'm done. Like, I'm a Cancer. So everyone who knows anything about the Cancer sign, I love my home. And when I can't stay in my home peacefully, sorry, someone's taking care of that. That needs to get dealt with. Nope. All right, so I'm going to have Dave tackle this. Again, there's so much information, but we're going to give you what you need to know quickly, and the rest they can find on here to help you.
For sure. So we're going to look at the Residential Tenancies Act of 2006. So we'll start with part 3, which is responsibilities of landlords. Landlord's responsibility to repair. So a landlord is responsible for providing and maintaining a residential complex, including the rental units in it, in a good state of repair and fit for habitation and for complying with health, safety, housing, and maintenance standards. See, what I like about this here in regards to like health, right? Now, when your place now has become infested with rodents, this now becomes a public health issue.
Because if they shit on my lids and I open a can and that shitty shit falls in my food. I'm so pissed, guys.
I
okay,
understand.
I'm going to let you finish this.
I understand.
I'm sorry.
Of course, the urine is poisonous. What a lot of us, we're now coming to find out, we have to be important. We have to be so vigilant in regards to what it is that we do and how we do it from here on in. Because at the end of the day, these are things that they should be doing naturally, right?
Let's do subsection 2 of that.
Shall we? Subsection 1 applies even if the tenant was aware of the state of non-repair or a contravention of a standard before entering into the tenancy agreement.
Which means if I knew we had mice, it's still the landlord's responsibility to take care of that. Public health and safety.
True things.
Guys, keep going. Sorry. Keep going.
You sure?
Yeah.
You get it out.
Reasonable enjoyment. No, hit this one. This is the one I want people to hear.
So, landlord must not interfere with the reasonable enjoyment. So this means this. A landlord shall not at any time during a tenant's occupancy of a rental unit and before the day on which an order evicting the tenant is executed substantially interfere with the reasonable enjoyment of the rental unit or the residential complex in which it is located for all usual purposes by a tenant or members of his or her household.
Them like to put all these big words into this. Long story short, if I ain't comfortable, there's a problem. If I'm paying you big money to stay in a place and I am not enjoying it, agreement already mash up.
Like coming home in the middle of the morning and seeing a mouse trap with a mouse still alive, caught,
but still
in the
alive.
middle of the hallway is not enjoyment.
I nearly died. The first time I saw a mouse, it was caught on a trap. First of all, that's so inhumane. It was in the hallway, and this is happening again. This is not just in the apartments in this building that we're talking about. They're running to the hallways, the lobbies,
the whole building.
The whole building. If that's not a Public Health and Safety Act issue, keep going, my dear.
Sure. So, we've gone through residence. Picture 7, yes, when landlords can end tenancy.
So landlords have rights,
Yes, they do. So, the landlord cannot evict the tenant unless the landlord follows the proper rules. In most cases, the landlord must give proper notice to end the tenancy using the right form. Forms are available on the Landlord and Tenant Board's website. The landlord can only give the tenant notice to end the tenancy in certain situations. These situations are set out in the Act, and a few examples includes: tenant does not pay the full rent when it's due, tenant causes damages to the rental unit or building, and tenant substantially interferes with the reasonable enjoyment of other tenants or the landlord.
That makes sense.
Yeah, we cannot go ahead and actually make the place disruptive
and
behavior.
And you know what?
Right?
I'm going to call out people in our building. Because again, you know what? I'm not going to be one-sided on anything. In our building, there are some tenants who are very disruptive.
Yeah, don't leave your McDonald's bag by the stairway, please.
Like, there's certain things, like these things do attract mice.
Yeah.
Them look for food. So if you're leaving your McDonald's bag, which they're so stupid because it has the address on it.
They got a delivery.
Stupid asses. So you got to deliver it and you leave it Like, do you know how many times I've had to take garbage and put it back on people's door because people don't want to pick up their garbage? So as much as, yes, we can get at the landlords, it's still tenants. It's just as much as a responsibility for yourself to care about where you live,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Like as you say, one hand washes the other. So by means, please, if you're living in, of course, in a shared space, do your part.
Share the space. Like, just because you want to keep your apartment dirty, it doesn't mean that I have to pay for it and suffer, because now you're bringing mice on my floor. And at 4 a.m., I have to hear gnawing at my door, and a damn mouse has to. Guy was so upset. You guys have no idea how upset it was for me. I was really upset because this is just not what I'm used to.
Right.
And I don't think this is fair to anybody to have to be living with outside creatures.
True. And mice, they're notorious breeders.
Them love to breed.
Yes.
So where there's one, there are many. Public health safety issue. Don't tell me, and this is what one of the people this morning said to me. So I spoke with a regional manager this morning for my situation, and he said that this is something that's happening in Toronto. And
You see, what they fail to state is this. I know, although, yes, there's been an increase, right? Because they say because of the construction, which is, of course, unsettling their usual nesting places,
Yeah,
right? But still, they have landlords, building management,
yeah,
right? They still have a responsibility.
you still have a responsibility. From time you say you want to become landlord, you're responsible for the renters who come into
Right.
your space.
It's bigger than giving your tenants mice traps and don't come back to check
And
them.
not coming back to check them. And these are the things that you have to understand. And something else landlords need to understand. What?
No, continue, please.
Is that you never underestimate who you have living in your apartment building or in your establishment. Never
things.
underestimate. Just because people may be quiet. I think one of my quotes that I used, let me go back up there. Let me go back to my quote. No, because I'm going to let you finish this up, but I want to go back to my quote because I think people need to understand the importance of this. Give me 1 second. Sorry, guys.
Your
It's
Sun Tzu quote?
Yes. Art of War.
Uh-huh.
Okay? My quote is this. Hold on. Okay. Though the enemy be stronger in numbers, we may prevent him from fighting. Scheme so as to discover his plans and the likelihood of his success, which is why I said it's not only important to know your rights as a tenant, it is very important to know the rights of the landlord, because that's how you're going to know how to challenge them,
Yeah.
right?
Like willful negligence.
Yeah, like it's willful negligence is what we are kind of dealing with right now.
Yeah,
Yes?
for sure.
So
And we don't want to hear that you don't have the expenses to go in and cover what's needed in the building. That's not our problem. You're still collecting our rent,
you're still collecting the money.
right? And so figure it out.
Okay, so I want to bring up something because we still have a little bit of time here.
Go right ahead.
All right, so let's go back on this whole idea of discrimination. I know a lot of people may be like, okay, what do you mean discrimination when it comes to housing? Let's explain. It's not just getting in, okay? So discrimination in rental housing accommodation is not just about denying access to housing opportunities. Tenants may actually experience unequal access to housing-related services, like repairs and maintenance, or may otherwise face differential treatment throughout their tenancy. The right to be free from discrimination in housing includes all matters relating to the accommodation, okay? And that includes equal treatment relating to statutory obligations of the housing provider, making sure you repair and maintain and keep the building clean from rodents and cockroaches. You can't prevent everything, but it's still your responsibility. And again, when you're dealing with an apartment building like our own that is 90% black, and I see most people just our building management kind of turning a blind eye, it makes me think, do you care?
Maybe they're
putting
just
it out
waiting
there.
us out.
Waiting out what?
Maybe they're just waiting us out,
Waiting out what?
so they can go ahead, and then do all the repairs after we've gone, right? And of course, charge buku dollars, like in regards to the so-called, Rentals Act, I read that rent is supposed to go up at least 11% for this year.
So it's
right?
going to
Throughout
go from $8,000 to $9,000 a month?
So I mean, it's the prices are absolutely
They need to cut
ridiculous. I read a couple articles, one in Vice and the other one in Daily Hive, that especially in the downtown core of Toronto, right, average amount for rent is approximately $2,200.
and you get a shoebox for that.
Now, not even just the rental space. Now, they tell you that rent should not cost a little bit more than maybe approximately 30% of your income, right? So if rent is $200, they're not just factoring anything else, right? You times it by 30%. You know how much money you have to make on a yearly basis so that you can feel comfortable?
Just to feel comfortable in your home. And then they're collecting all this money. In our building, there's 20 floors. On each floor, maybe about 10 apartments. You do the math each month. And you can't clean a mouse problem, and you're going to come and listen. All right, when we come back, when we do come back, because I'm the emotional one, this is why I need Dave in my life, because he keeps me, calm and logical about things. Never fight fire with fire. You fight fire with water. So when we come back, we're going to talk about the rights and responsibilities of the tenants on Here to Help You.
Are you retiring smart? Make your home's equity work for you. With your home's equity and our 30 years of experience, the Retire Smart Properties team can help you achieve the quality of life you've always wanted. Our services are 360 degrees. We'll give you advice, take care of staging and selling, and help you find the perfect home and community to transition to. It's time to enjoy the retirement lifestyle you deserve. Visit our website today to learn how you can use your home to retire comfortably. The Retire Smart Properties team, powered by RE/MAX West.
With so many newspapers within the community, it's sometimes hard to tell what separates us from the rest. Most of the time, they all brag about the same thing. The large circulations, tons of online views, and it can go on and on. But what really separates the Toronto Caribbean newspaper apart from everybody else? Well, it's simple. Our service. No, seriously. Hi, I'm Grant Browning, founder and CEO of the Toronto Caribbean newspaper. I have over 20 years of branding and marketing experience, and I've worked with countless companies and corporations to do one thing, and that is to raise their profits with their brand. With over 40 years of combined experience in branding and marketing, our amazing staff is fully prepared to sit down and figure out exactly what you need to stand out from your competitors.
The reason why you don't see that anymore is because
the ad is too powerful, bring too much people.
So what are you waiting for? Give us a call today. We'll be happy to help.
Welcome back, everybody, to a special edition of Here to Help You. Who's right, landlord or tenant? Right? So, Dave, you were saying something that I think I would really like for you to repeat, because I think it's important that our audience understands this today.
Yeah, what was I saying again? Oh, yes, that the information that we're presenting here today, I mean, we understand that there may be people out there who may know some of this, if not all the information that we have, right? But this is for, of course, for those who are unaware, right? At the end of the day, we have to be able to go ahead and fight their battles intelligently. Right. If they're going to go ahead and use the so-called law and acts against us, by means, we must go ahead and use the same things against them.
Absolutely.
Right?
And for people like myself and others who have a platform, it's important that we are doing this for them, because not everyone has a voice. We have 3 voices, plus our own. And we are going to use it to make sure that our people are educated on what needs to be done.
Yeah, man, it's all about social justice, you know?
All about social justice. I also want to big up Miss Brittany Channer.
Go on, travelers.
My legal expert in this, because this girl right there, let's put it this way, once she put together that letter for me and we sent it to the building management, I've never seen my phone light up so much in my life. They never called me until they got that letter.
Yes.
Now I'm getting calls from regional managers. I'm getting messages from the president of the company, the vice president, but Ono couldn't shit pun me before. But, sometimes you gotta do that. So big up yourself, Channer.
Go on with it.
So let's now look at the responsibilities of the tenants, because I need you guys again to understand that you do have responsibilities. So the tenant's responsibility for cleanliness. The tenant is responsible for ordinary cleanliness of the rental unit, except to the extent that the tenancy agreement requires the landlord to clean it. So I don't know what an example would be if like a landlord would have to clean it. We can just say to this, keep your place clean. It cuts down on the critters.
Yeah, that for instance, if you have a oven fan, right, and of course if it's beginning to deteriorate, right, you, as a tenant, that's not your responsibility.
And when you have mold growing in your fan, yeah, this is another thing, because I'm sending this to the building management. When you have mold and rust, so when you boil water, it leaks and will drop into your water. I don't know is that public health and safety? Yeah, there's a problem there. So Anyhow, back to the tenants and their responsibilities. So, it's a tenant's responsibility to repair damage. So, the tenant is responsible for the repair of undue damage to the rental unit or the residential complex caused by the willful or negligent conduct of the tenant, another occupant of the rental unit, or a person permitted in the residential complex by that tenant. So, of course, if you want to have all these like ragamuffin people coming through your house and mashing up things, you can't mash things up and then blame and have the landlords fix it.
Hold on. Why is it going to be a ragamuffin to come into place and ruin the place, man?
Because it's usually a ragamuffin with no sense or sensibility. Unless you're a child, you should know how to act right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
There are adults out there that
are still children?
quite possibly.
Okay, well, whatever.
Uh-huh.
So let's talk about ending a tenancy, okay? So when a tenant can end the tenancy by giving the landlord proper notice using the appropriate landlord and tenant board forms, which we will be presenting at the end. They must give at least 60 days notice if they have a monthly or fixed term tenancy, or at least 28 days notice if they have a daily or weekly tenancy. For a fixed term tenancy, the notice cannot be effective before the last day of the fixed term. Long story short, they're saying that you can't withhold rent. You've got to pay and you've got to give your 2 months. You know what I don't like about some of this though?
Mm-hmm.
So you must still pay for a place where you're uncomfortable. This is the part I don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you must still pay for a place where you're uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So they take your money,
Mm-hmm.
but you're still leaving in unreasonable discomfort.
Mm-hmm.
You're still living with mice.
Mm-hmm.
You're still living with a dirty hallway.
Mm-hmm.
You're still living with non-working electricity.
Mm-hmm.
You're still living with rust in your fan
Mm-hmm.
above your stove.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't understand. And this is why sometimes you've got to go higher than these things, and why I would go to the human rights part of it, because I'm going to be like, look, at the end of the day, I want to fight this so that people understand that it is a human rights issue. When you start going against my human rights, sorry, I don't give a damn about your 60 days notice. I'll follow through though, because I know I have to, but I don't give a damn about your 60 days notice. So in certain situations, a tenant who has experienced sexual or domestic violence can give actually 28 days notice to end the tenancy at any time, even if the tenant has a fixed term agreement. So there are some,
Yeah.
leniencies there, especially
yeah.
when it comes to, which makes sense.
There's a form for it. I think it's the N13 or N14 or something like that. But anyways, there's a form which we'll give the website later.
Okay, so the landlord and tenant have to deliver some official notices and other documents in writing. These notices and documents can be hand-delivered, left in a mailbox or place where mail is ordinarily delivered,
Mm-hmm.
or mailed. So there's another problem with this, and this is a problem we have with our building. When there's no one in the office to talk to, when you leave checks over and over again and checks disappear, there's going to come a time when you stop doing that, because clearly there's a breakdown in communication.
Right.
This was the case with us.
Mm-hmm.
I would love there was months. Would that not be true? Months, Dave, where we would go down to the office at all times of the day and there would be nobody there to assist us.
Mm-hmm.
We'd hand off letters, leave repair notices. The repair notices would go missing.
Mm-hmm.
They would disappear. They lost our checks. They couldn't find checks. Then have the nerve to send us message about, oh, you're 3 months late. Really? Because we have rental stubs here that said we've paid. Where are our checks? So what, now we have to go pay more money for put stop pun check because you guys lost checks? And then you guys want to come tell me about handing in my rent on time? Can there be someone in the office so I can give someone my check personally so I know that it actually gets to you on time? A lot of this is, yes, I'm a little bit emotional because they talk about these things that need to be done, and it's almost like because of, again, this is how that subtle discrimination works.
Right.
Maybe they assume that because the building is 90% black, that many of us may not have the knowledge base to know that these things are not right. There has to be someone in the office. And can we put someone in the office who has a smiling face and doesn't have a wrist or resting bitch face the whole time so I feel uncomfortable when I walk in? What is that? What happened to plain customer service and the customer is always right? What happened to that? I'm sorry.
Are you sure? You okay?
I'm good.
Yeah? Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
So there are other ways to serve notices, just so you guys know. I went too far, eh? There are other ways to serve notices, and this stuff can also be provided for you on the Landlord and Tenant Board website, okay? So let's talk about the residential tenancy agreement. This is a standard form of lease that was updated in April 2018. The landlord must keep the rental unit and property in good repair and comply with all health, safety, and maintenance standards. I repeat, the landlord must keep the rental unit and property in good repair and comply with all health, safety, and maintenance standards. The tenant must repair or pay for any undue damage to the rental unit. A lot of these things I am repeating, but I want you to understand that, again, there's two sides of looking at this. There is the landlord's responsibility and there is the tenant's responsibility, okay? So there can't be any willful or negligent conduct that causes things to break. That's your responsibility. You can't be doing that either, right? The tenant is, again, responsible for just being clean and not leaving your pizza boxes on the floor because you're too lazy to bring them downstairs, or sending your children out to put the garbage up because picnics are stupid and they're gonna do stuff like fling the pizza box on the ground, because I know it's kids doing that, because if it's adults, we have a problem. So, a tenant or a former tenant of a rental unit may apply to the board for any of the following orders. An order determining that the landlord has breached an obligation under subsection 20, which is what has happened to us. All right. An order to determine that the landlord, superintendent, or agent of the landlord has withheld the reasonable supply of any vital service, care service, or food that is in the landlord's obligation. So this here, for us, for example, they put mouse traps. And this was about 8 months ago. And they checked them once and never returned. How are you doing what you need to do? Why are you laughing, Dave?
Because it's amusing how, and it's a common practice for them to go ahead and actually send mouse traps. Here's a mouse trap, here's a mouse trap, right? But that don't do anything else afterwards. Don't bring anybody into the units, don't send a notice, don't do anything whatsoever, right? And just leave the people with their mouse traps.
Yeah,
right?
And then have the nerve to say, "Oh, well, we were gonna send people on Friday
to go check the
mouse traps." Why? Because I sent you a letter that says that you're not complying to what you need to be doing as a landlord? Now you want to send people on Friday? Oh, they didn't give you that notice yet? No, they did not give me the notice yet, because there was no notice. They would have just sat there and let the mice run the building. There's more mice in the building now than there is people. Oh, come on, man, because it's not just us.
It's real talk, and like I feel bad for, right? I mean, yes, we are a couple, definitely, right? But what about of course, the families that are in the home that have the babies, right? Have the children who simply, don't know what else to do, right? Except, they have a place, they have a place and a roof over their head. They got to pay their bills. They make sure their rent is in on time, right? And they need to get to work, right? And don't have the time to go and tackle these social issues.
It honestly, it's, and this is why, again, it's so important that we did this show today, because again, we are here to speak for our community. There are certain things that you guys may not know, and we want to make sure that you are educated on them. So again, if you can't speak, definitely today, I want you guys to leave comments, share this show. There's that share button underneath here on the YouTube page, on Facebook too. Share this show out, because I'm telling you, it's not just us who are affected by this.
Yeah.
There are many people in Toronto right now spending thousands of dollars in a rental property, and it's not being taken care of because people are negligent and then take us for fool. We're tired of it.
Yeah, start, if you're in a rental unit, by all means, start going to your neighbors. Start speaking to your neighbors about the issues. Start building this type of relationships, right? Start beginning on the formulation of the association, the tenant associations, right? Where now you can have these monthly meetings, right? And of course, the more signatures, the more people, so on and so forth. Because once again, strength is in numbers.
Strength is in numbers. And the more you talk, and the more you make your voice heard, when you let them know that you are actually a reporter, that's when people want to start saying, "Oh, we were going to send people on Friday." All right. Segment 4. When we come back, we're gonna have some closing remarks, just some final things to go over for you guys, so we can all know what we need to do going forward. See you soon. I'm here to help you.
At Benjamin Law, we understand the real cost of personal injuries. As the victim of an accident, you may be the one who's physically hurt, but your main concern is that your family are the ones who will pay the price. Benjamin Law will be there for you, helping, supporting, and working tirelessly to resolve your personal injury case. Call 1-855-899-4878 or visit benjaminlaw.ca and let our family of lawyers help your family.
Are you retiring smart? Make your home's equity work for you. With your home's equity in our 30 years of experience, the Retire Smart Properties team can help you achieve the quality of life you've always wanted. Our services are 360 degrees. We'll give you advice, take care of staging and selling, and help you find the perfect home and community to transition to. It's time to enjoy the retirement lifestyle you deserve. Visit our website today to learn how you can use your home to retire comfortably. The Retire Smart Properties team, powered by RE/MAX West.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back again. And before I go any further, I want to big up somebody who is doing her best. And Selena, you've done an excellent job today.
Go on
Thank
with
you
it, girl.
so much
Go on with
for
it.
your transitions are on point. We really appreciate it. We love the fact that we have younger people in here working with us. They can learn from us, and we can definitely learn from them.
Amen.
Right? So we're going to do some closing points. If you're just joining us today, we were talking about landlords, we're talking about tenants, we're talking about the responsibilities of each member in any type of agreement, and the reason why it's so important to know your rights.
Yes, for sure.
Should I go through this?
Go ahead.
Let's close some things up. I'm going to go back to maintenance and repairs. It's very important that you understand. The maintenance and repairs part is the biggest thing.
Yes.
So the landlord must keep the rental unit and property in good repair and comply with all health, safety, and maintenance standards. This includes the maintenance and repair of things that come with the unit, like your fan over your stove, such as appliances, doors to your balcony that are broken, and when you tell them they're broken, they say, "Oh, okay," and that was it. And common areas such as parking lots, elevators, and hallways. The parking lots, elevators, and hallways in our building are disgusting. Disgusting. Never clean. They put some paint up and they're like, ta-da!
It worked for a couple of days.
It worked for a few days, but there was piss all over the walls again, tenants. All right. The tenant must pay their rent even if they have problems with the maintenance and repair of their unit or property. If the tenant is having a maintenance or repair problem, the tenant should let the landlord know. The problem with this is what happens when you let the landlord know and they do nothing. Do you continue to pay rent?
You know, and that's probably going to be something that has to be looked over when the new legislation comes out, especially when more and more people are experiencing this, more and more reports, more and more cases, right? Because I mean, at the end of the day, should they receive zero? Should they receive a percentage, a small percentage? Should we just hold it in escrow, right? So I mean, like, and especially now when you feel that you're paying the rent, and it's on time, and there's still nothing being done, right? So I mean, at the end of the day,
I feel like the landlords are like the winners with this sometimes
because
they still get their
receive the
money, and we're still paying you guys, and they're just like,
yeah, I
Right?
get you, you know. And at the end of the day, I mean, like, remember, it's the power's in the people. At the end of
Yeah.
the day, right?
we need to stand together, people.
And that's exactly what it comes down to. Remember, because at the end of the day, if they don't listen to us, guess what's happening?
There's a group called Acorn, which I'm going to contact as well. And Acorn does this type of thing. They work for the people in our community. So I'm going to be in contact with Acorn as well. And I'm telling you, there's going to be more about this. This is only the beginning. And anyone who knows me knows I am relentless. So I was the wrong person. All right, let's do the next part of maintenance and property and repairs.
Sure. The tenant is responsible for any damage to the rental property caused by the tenant, the tenant's guest, or another person who lives in the rental unit. This applies to any damage caused on purpose or by not being careful enough. This does not include damage that results from normal use of the rental units over time, pretty much wear and tear.
Like a toilet. Can we talk about this story, please? So from the time we moved in, our toilet has been destroyed. It doesn't work. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I remember once we went a week. We went a week without a toilet and we went a week without a fridge. So all our food rotted.
Yeah.
And I don't even want to tell you guys what we had to do when it came to using the toilet. Like,
Well-
I don't even want to talk about that. And again, this is stuff that's just, it's inhumane.
Yeah, it wasn't until that the last overflow that she came in and found out what was causing the issue.
But again, it took me having to write a letter to get any type of response. And then we got a new fridge. But this is like 5 days later. We were stuck without a fridge. Let's
And
not talk about
still.
how about the time we were stuck without heat for a week in the middle of winter?
Oh, goodness.
Guys, like, and these are the things that are happening, and we're not speaking up. You've got to speak up.
You have to, very much.
We had to pay for the toilet the first time we got it fixed. You remember that?
Yeah, and then we
we had
fought
to
it.
pay for it,
Yeah.
and then we fought that.
Uh-huh.
And then the next week, they did a rent increase, and when I told it out, guys, coincidentally, it ended up being the exact same amount of what they had to reimburse us for fixing the toilet. To the number. Coincidence? So let's continue with the maintenance. The landlord can apply to the landlord and tenant board if the tenant has not repaired damage. So of course, again, tenants, you guys can't just go ahead and act all squirrely and do foolishness and expect to get away with it. It's still not fair. I've been a landlord too. So I know what it looks like on the other side as well. And it is unfair when your place gets damaged. I remember when I rented out my property, the lady had dogs and she made them yam up all my cupboard doors. It was terrible because I had to pay for all that after, right? So these are things that, as a landlord, I hear you guys. As rental properties, I hear you guys. But once you start an agreement like this, certain ends of the agreement must be kept.
Right.
Period. So the tenant is responsible for ordinary cleanness or cleanliness of the rental unit, except for any cleaning that the landlord again agreed to do. So what's important about this is what we're talking about here has to do with Ontario specifically and our rules and regulations for Ontario. But I do urge anyone who's listening to this in other cities, in other larger cities, whether it's here in Canada or in the States or in England, or it doesn't matter where, there is some type of act that states how you should be treated as a tenant, and landlords for you, how you need to be treated as a landlord. And I think it's very important that you know your rights on both sides. Both sides need to know your rights, because if not, problems like this happen. Div?
You said everything. You pretty much hit the nail on the head with that. There's nothing I can actually add to that whatsoever.
What we can add is where people in Toronto can gather some of their resources. That's what I would say. Number one thing, gather your resources, people.
Yeah.
And if you need help going through that, you're not, again, understand that you are not alone.
Yeah, there's a Facebook group, Black Housing Directory. They have some real cool information there. Plus, you get a chance to speak to people who actually know the Tenants Act. Right, so by means, look them up. Black Housing Directory, the Landlord and Tenant Board website, the Social Justice website. They have all the forms there. You name
All
it,
of
from the
them.
N1 straight down to the N4, 14, 15. You name it, they got them there. Right, the tenant application about maintenance.
So that was important.
Yes, that one you would find there on the website as well, right? Application about whether the act applies.
Act, speaking about, the Residency and Tenancy Act. Like, where does that apply in your situation?
Exactly, right? Freedom of information, all of that. Simply you can pretty much find that on the Landlord and Tenant Board website.
I've downloaded all the forms, all of them, and they will be used, because something I do know is when you're dealing with the corporate world,
Use the appropriate forms.
yeah,
Make copies.
cross your T's and dot those I's, baby. Make sure you do what you're supposed to do. Hold up your end of the deal.
Yes, and by means, make notes for anybody who has any type of meetings or anything like that. Of course, when the landlords do come into the home to quote unquote service the apartment or units.
Note it.
Yeah, make a notation. Definitely. I mean, of course, the more ammo for yourself, the more you can gather up, especially now when you have to go to, of course, the tribunal board. It serves the purpose.
It does. So people, I really hope today's show gave you some strength. That's what I really want, some empowerment to stand up for yourselves. You are paying good money that you work very, very hard for, to go and pay for a roof over your head where you and your family can feel safe If you do not feel safe, if you feel like your health, anything is being put at risk, stand up and know that you are not alone. Definitely like, share, comment, okay? Share this show out. Let's get some comments. If you have any questions, you can link Dave and I on our Here to Help You page at here-2.help.com. Dave's going to put up all this information for you as well. Dave, any last minute thoughts?
You know, it was a pleasure, definitely. We want to hear from everybody. The comments. By means, you know, if you got similar situations, experiences, or
Talk
pretty
to
much
us about it.
anything whatsoever, they can go ahead and help the general public. Please let us know.
Everybody have a wonderful day. I'm sorry if I was a little aggressive. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. When it comes to my livelihood and my space, I don't play. So to those landlords who are watching, understand that I am a serious person. And when I want something done, it's going to get done. So revel on it. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next week on Here to Help You.
Peace and love, family.
Bye.
With so many newspapers within the community, it's sometimes hard to tell what separates us from the rest. Most of the time, they all brag about the same thing. You know, the large circulations, tons of online views, and it can go on and on. But what really separates the Toronto Caribbean newspaper apart from everybody else? Well, it's simple. Our service. No, seriously. Hi, I'm Grant Browning, founder and CEO of the Toronto Caribbean newspaper. I have over 20 years of branding and marketing experience, and I've worked with countless companies and corporations to do one thing, and that is to raise their profits with their brand. With over 40 years of combined experience in branding and marketing, our amazing staff is fully prepared to sit down and figure out exactly what you need to stand out from your competitors.
The reason why you don't see that anymore is because
The ad is too powerful, bring too much people.
So what are you waiting for? Give us a call today. We'll be happy to help.